I'm Bola and welcome back to my channel. So we're over the first video awkwardness so we can move on to today's video, and in today's video I am just sharing my top 5 easiest houseplants. Clearly from my apartment tour video I have a lot of plants, and it's one of honestly like the joys that I have found in the last year and a half to 2 years, and I want to share it. So today I'm going to be bringing you my 5 easiest houseplants to take care of. They're very beginner friendly. So before we start talking about the houseplants on my list, I thought it's best to just lay a few groundwork things and talk about a few things that are really important when it comes to keeping plants alive in your house. So first things first is lighting. Now which houseplant you go for in the very beginning does depend heavily on the type of lighting you have in your house, apartment, wherever you live. For me, I have a lot of windows, and they are southeast facing windows. Now I didn't know this when I first started getting plants, so it's okay if you don't know. If you have like very bright apartment that gets a lot of sunlight, at least like 4 to 6 hours in the daytime, you might be able to get away with a plant like a monstera, which is not on my list today, but it's a very popular type of plant. And if you live in a very low light apartment, I wouldn't suggest going for that. So starting out understanding the type of lighting you have, most plants do need 4 to 6 hours of sunlight to, you know, get growing and things of that sort. But you can get away with not having that if you choose certain plants. Second is watering. Now watering schedule is very important, and it is actually the #1 reason why people kill their plants. Like new, house plant owners, they overwater and show a little bit too much love to those plants, especially in the very beginning. So this is a very common mistake. I made it to quite a few of my plants, and sometimes it's irreversible, especially when you have root rot, which can be very severe. Now you can come back from root rot at times. I have, and there have been times that you just kill that plant and you just gotta let it go, and I've done that as well too. So #1 plant on my list is the snake plant. I love snake plant, and the reason why I love the snake plant is because they are almost, not quite, set it and forget it. You can literally get a snake plant and not water it for a couple of weeks, and it'll be fine. It'll survive. I'm actually going to show it to you. I've had a snake plant in my apartment that I had in like the darkest corner of my place, which is like near the entryway, and just had it there for about a year and some change. I did water it, but I didn't water it as frequently, and it didn't die. And when I started to notice that it wasn't doing well, I moved it to a very like bright, well lit area of my apartment. But that plant cannot be killed. Actually it can. Every plant can be killed. This is my snake plant that I had in my like living room or entryway area, and this is a new leaf that came after I moved it and put it in a well lit spot. And so is this, well, not that one, I'm touching the wrong one, this one, and then there's one back here as well too. This one, basically the ones that are a little bit lighter in color, You can put them in low light areas. They will survive, not for long. They will only survive maybe a few months, depending on how dark it is, a few months. Mine did a year, but depending on the lighting in your space, it really could survive a few months until maybe at least you get it in a better lit area or move or something like that. So these are great first time plants. And also that's one thing with these plants, is they're actually quite easy to overwater, but they're also really easy to revive. I honestly, just when I realized I was overwatering it, well, I just put it in a better lit area. I put it in a room that was well lit, and I just let it do its thing. I water it now every 3 to sometimes 4 weeks. Honestly, I don't really measure the time because I just use my finger, dig it right there in the soil and see the level of dryness is in. If it feels wet, it's not ready. That's all with this plant. This plant is very easy, very simple. I would say when you do get it, only water it every 4 weeks, 3 weeks. If it's in a very well lit area, every 2 weeks might be a little bit much for this plant. Plant number 2 is the ZZ plant. Beautiful, easygoing plant. I think it is actually easier to take care of than the snake plant. I've left it in a bathroom that did not get any light and any natural sunlight anyway, and it didn't die. For a couple of months, it did not die. It didn't sprout any new leaves, but it also didn't die. Very similar to the snake plant. I don't water it too often. I water it a little bit more often than my snake plant though, just because right now I have it in a very, very, very well lit area. It is actively growing, even though it is fall. We're going into winter soon, and it's still growing. This is my ZZ plant that has survived the bathroom. When I got this plant, it was basically as small as this leaf right over here. That's how small it was. It has grown this much after I took it out of the dim bathroom. Water thoroughly, because these plants don't get water very often. When you do water them, water thoroughly. So wait until you see the water coming out of the drainage pot. For me, I always keep them in the nursery pot. I always keep them in the nursery pot, and then I just put them in like a decorative pot, but I let the decorative pot also serve as somewhat of a saucer to just catch the water that overflows, and then when it's done, I dump it out. Cut back on the watering if it's not in a very well lit area. That is key. Next plant is a very popular and easy one. It is a pothos. I can go on and on about how much I love these plants. I propagate them all the time, and they're so easy to do. These bad boys can be in medium to high bright light. They can also survive low light. I really love them because they tend to trail. This is one of my smaller ones. I have multiples of these. Actually, right there is my big one. It's the mother plant that I get a lot of these from. Pothos, your best friend. If you want the very trailing look, they will trail very easily. Now, when they are in low light, they might not trail as quickly, and they might never even really trail until you get it in some really good sunlight or better conditions. They also really love humidity, so they might not trail for a while. I've had a couple that, you know, I didn't put in a very well lit area, and it took a while to trail, and that's my favorite part of pothos, honestly. And these bad boys, they tell you when they need watering. I wish I can find, I'm actually gonna try and find footage of it basically limping. Like, it just gets to a stage where these, you know, these leaves are like turgid. turgid. I'm pretty sure that's how you say the word. They feel like they have a lot of life. They have some crunch to them. They need watering. They will be limp. They will lack this turgidity, and they will just not be sitting up. They'll be drooping and just down. I particularly like these because they talk to you. Unlike a lot of other plants, they actually tell you when they need a lot more water. They might not tell you when they need a lot more sun, but they tell you when they need a lot more water. My next two plants I actually don't own right now. I owned at a certain point, but don't own at this very moment anymore. The fourth one will actually be an English ivy, or almost any type of ivy, and they're very similar to the pothos in the fact that they tend to really trail. They just trail on brick walls, and you can find them anywhere, and that's because they are very sturdy plants. I find that they do need a little bit more sunlight than the pothos in my experience, but they will survive in a low light-ish kind of setting. I owned an English ivy, and it likes to dry out completely before, you know, giving it some more water. You do not need to overwet those. Very similar to the pothos, but particularly for the ivies. They are prone to gnats. Beware of that. However, it is a beautiful, beautiful plant that can easily trail. And my final is aloe. I love an aloe vera plant. Very beautiful, and you can also use it for like your skin, your hair. Like, what's not to love? A plant that you can just kind of pluck off and use it when you need to. I actually owned an aloe plant before, but I used a lot of it. It continued to still grow, but then I honestly had too many plants in my space, and it was starting to feel very cluttered, so I just, you know, gave it to someone else. Someone does tend to need more bright indirect light. You can get away with medium light. I would definitely put it like right there by the windowsill. Just water it as you see fit. It's like gorgeous. It can sometimes grow in very odd directions though. I will say that much. They don't grow uniform, but that's part of the beauty of aloe. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a couple of tips and you start your plant collection. I promise you, you will not regret it. I have enjoyed owning and caring for a lot of these plants, and I hope you do too. I really do. Anyway, leave any comments, suggestions, anything. If you're also like a plant junkie, a plant lover like myself, and you have some comments or any additional thoughts and tips that you want to add down below, please do. I want this to be a community where we can, you know, share information back and forth, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.